has become very evident about how much the care for our environment has changed. On top of recycling, reserving energy, and saving the polluted air and water, many have resorted to a new way of reducing the amount of chemicals that are entering the air through the act of composting. Composting was created through the idea of environmentalism, which is revolved around improving and protecting the quality of the natural environment through changes to environmentally harmful human activities. John Muir, one of the earliest environmentalists, activated this idea when it came to him that he believed the world wasn't environmentally stable. Muir brought attention to the rest of the world, and many conversations and actions began to take place. In 1916, President Woodrow Wilson founded the National Park Service in hopes to increase the beneficial environmental impacts that had been noticed. Prior to President Woodrow Wilson's gaining education on the harm that was being issued on the environment, the Congress, along with many people, were unaware of the hidden beauty that there was to the environment that had existed. It took lots of time and convincing to get many higher figures to put forth efforts and regulations to begin the important changes to the environment. Beginning in the late 1900s, many environmentalists began to develop ways to limit any environmental damage through recycling and alternative energy technologies. After tons of convincing and many trials that took place, composting has become a major result to improving the environment that we currently live in today. Composting transforms any waste product into a valuable soil amendment. This soil that is produced is environmentally safer and doesn't ensue chemicals into the earth. This process is the recycling of organic materials, including vegetables and fruit scraps, grains, coffee grounds, herbs, eggshells, leaves, and plant trimmings. Composting can involve meat products, although it is suggested that a meat compost pile is a separate pile from the other organic waste. Overall, the act of composting reduces the amount of organic waste in landfills that emits methane. Emitting methane reduces the amount of methane and greenhouse gases that is distributed into the environment. This cycle is a crucial part of the nitrogen cycle. Plants need nitrogen-rich soil to grow and build properly. With that, there are less artificial chemicals that are needed through this type of fertilizer. A long time ago, hunter and gatherers began cultivating food and realized that crops grew 100% better in areas where the soil contained manure, the waste of animals, which is also rich in nitrogen. Native Americans in Mesopotamia Valley practiced composting long ago, but was soon left behind as years progressed. With that being said, beginning in the 19th century, many chemical fertilizers began to displace naturally produced fertilizers. But in recent years, there has been a renewed interest in composting and saving the environment. Starting in the 1930s, Albert Howard promoted composting as a solution for poor soil fertility that was occurring in India. From that point forward, composting became well known throughout many places and different countries. Composting is broken down into chemical and physical changes. The first stage of composting includes the physical decomposing, which is done by small animals like earthworms and beetles. The composting itself is the result of biological actions by bacteria and fungi. These organisms digest the plant and animal remains, converting them into chemical elements that make up humus. The addition of humus to soil provides a variety of benefits. It produces the crumb structure of the compost. Soil that has good crumb structure retains water much better than any other soils and is more resistant to erosion. The dark color to humus also aids in heat retention, which allowed crops to be raised earlier and later in their growing season. Humus adds the elements that are vital to plant growth: nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. There are many rules and benefits to composting, most of which I learned along my experience while composting. While researching about composting, I learned that it needs to stay warm and moist, and ideally it needs to be located in a sunny spot. So with that being said, I created my compost bin and put it in my backyard where it would gain a lot of sun. I had a compost bin inside of my house so that it made it easier for me to throw away my fruit and vegetable scraps while cutting them up. My compost pile has not gotten to the full decomposition stage because of the fact that it does take a couple of months to completely decompose. But based off these pictures, I hope that eventually my compost pile will look just like the way others have looked in the past.